Hey guys, LegalNoggin here, and looking forward to talking to you today a little bit about, again, we're going to continue the discussion about what to expect when you speak to a lawyer. And in this installment, we want to talk a little more about what actually happens during a lawsuit. And again, if you're really wanting specific information, you need to call your local attorney for that information, because information can vary, and the outcome and the results and those types of things will not be the same with every situation, every jurisdiction. So it's important you remember this is general information to help you. And what we're trying to do here is educate you a little bit about what you can expect after you have had a lawsuit. Now, most of the time in a lawsuit, you are either a plaintiff or a defendant, meaning you're the one suing or you're one being sued. The one suing is the plaintiff. The one being sued is the defendant. So depending on what side of the V they say that you're on, plaintiff versus defendant, that will indicate the responses and the types of responses and so forth. But there's some things that happen during a lawsuit that you really need to be aware of. First of all, again, I want to stress, it will take time. Can you hear the clock ticking? So it does take time, unfortunately. Lawyers, believe me, are the first to say, and judges and so forth, they wish they could move things along more quickly, and they're trying to do that as best that they can. But it is difficult sometimes. There's a period of time after a lawsuit has been filed, known as the time when you have an answer. Sometimes if you're in Pennsylvania, for example, in state court in Pennsylvania, it's preliminary objections. If they feel like the pleadings are deficient or things are not just right technically, they want to get it right, they might file something like that. In West Virginia or in the federal courts, it's called a motion to dismiss. And it doesn't always mean that your case will be dismissed. It just means that there are different arguments being made as to whether or not the pleadings are really what they should be technically, and if information has been presented properly. So the judges have to figure that out, and that does take extra time. However, with that said, there are times when you'll have an answer to your complaint, meaning the defendant, if you are the plaintiff, will respond to your pleadings and will answer each of those paragraphs that your attorney has so capably written down. Okay, and that's important because that is something that really starts the process. And then after that, you get into a period of time called discovery. Okay, discovery, it is just exactly what it sounds like. You're trying to discover information that will help you to prove your case. The defendants are trying to discover information that will help them to sort of get out of the case and to avoid liability for whatever has happened. So there are things like interrogatories, which are written questions that are asked by both sides, and those have to be responded to under oath, just like as if you were in a courtroom. Okay, there's also something called a request for production of documents. That's where we're asking for documents from the other side. They're asking for documents from our side. And sometimes those documents are not readily obtainable by, let's say, an employee who has been fired. They want their employment record, they want their medical records, and those types of things. Well, some rules or laws provide that the employee is entitled to look at those records, sometimes even copy them. But you can't always get everything sometimes that you feel like you need. After you've filed a lawsuit, there are special rules of court, civil rules of the law that allow you to obtain that information. So when you do get that information, it's information that you might not otherwise have been able to obtain. And that also can help you to fit the pieces together if you look at your lawsuit like a big puzzle that's being put together. Okay, and your lawyer is trying to help you to do that, all right? So after that period of time, there may be something called oral depositions. That's where you're being deposed and you're communicating some things, questions, responding to questions that are being asked of you under oath, and this usually happens before there's going to be a trial. And so you're also asking questions, if it's an employment situation, of the employer, your supervisor, people like that you're talking to about that situation. Okay, so that's really important to remember, and those things take time. There's a case management plan that's usually put into place by the courts that give you deadlines. Sometimes those deadlines are not met, unfortunately, and there has to be extensions of time. So again, like I said in the beginning, you have to remember that these things do take time. And you don't want to stop your entire life when you filed a lawsuit. You want to continue on doing what you're supposed to be doing. And oftentimes there's something called mitigation of damages. We're not going to get into all the specifics of that today, but it's important that you continue to look for work if you've been fired. You have to continue looking for work to see if you can find a job, okay? Not just to pay the bills, but also because that's a requirement under some of the statutes. All right, so we're not going to get into all the specifics like I said today. If you want more specificity, you're going to want to talk to a lawyer. We're not going to get into trial today either, but there will be a trial perhaps, and then sometimes cases don't go to trial. Sometimes they're dismissed before trial. A large majority of cases are settled before trial, okay? So most things never darken the door of a courtroom, if you want to know the truth today. But it's important to remember that these things take time. Bear that in mind when you're talking with your lawyer, when you're trying to get information from your lawyer, that it's not always easy for that lawyer to spend all of that time, making phone calls and so forth. It's important for them to keep you informed. We try to do that through our law firm in the form of a portal that allows you to contact me at various times, day or night, and then we try to respond. We can't be on the phone all day, every day. There's only so many hours of the day. But at the same time, informing you and then finding an efficient way of working and doing that. All right, that's all that we have for today. I wanted to give you a little bit of information there that I hope would help to educate you a little bit. Don't be afraid to ask questions. If you have questions, place them in the comments below and we'll try to respond to them. If you have comments that you'd like to make, we encourage you to do that. And please don't forget to subscribe to our channel. We really want to be able to develop that relationship of giving you information as is needed and keeping you informed. All right, that's it for today. Thanks for contacting us at LegalNoggin.